Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Living in the Limelight, an Anton Scholl and Friends podcast where we discuss music from the artist and fan perspective. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to another episode of Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Anton Scholl, and with me today is my special guest as a Las Vegas-based band from Generatin Landslide. I have Anthony White. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
It's a pleasure. It's good to see you. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you. I love kind of getting bands on here that, I'll promote whoever I can possibly promote. I think that there's so many musicians out there that have such great music and do so many things. And, we need to get them out more to the masses. It's not like it used to be to where it was easier to promote. Right now, it's just very difficult to promote. And I'm trying to do whatever I can to get these bands out here. And I got to tell you, it's very surprising when I listen to some of these bands, and especially you, when I listened to Generatin Landslide, I was like, I'm shocked that that you're not out there, that you're not touring, you're not doing the thing, because it's really good and it's really what I am into. When I'm starting my own thing, I did my own originals. I wanted to bring back the guitar. I wanted to bring back guitar-based music. I wanted to hear a solo again,
Right.
and that seems to be exactly what you guys are doing. So just wanted to say, love the band, love the music that you guys do, and it's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, you're right. Going back many years, doing a record and then going out on the road and then doing another record and promoting, and it just becomes, the groundswell thing. Things are a lot different nowadays. You put a record out and you try to do a lot of social media stuff, and just it's completely different. So this kind of really is new to me, just the same, in this type of format of promoting the band. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So tell me about the band a bit, because like I said, I love the idea of getting back to the, I think you kind of promote yourself as like a 90s influenced kind of melodic rock. And that is exactly what it is. Some of these songs, and I was listening to like Love and Pain, starting out with that acoustic and moving into the heavier stuff. So just tell me about the band itself. How did the band form? And, and then I want to get into kind of the recordings, but let's talk about the band first, because I also want to find out about the name.
So, so the band formed in roughly 2020. I carried the name with me for a long time, many, many years back. I was in a cover band. We were called Generatin Landslide. And I thought, wow, what a great title, what a great, concept for it. And I said, well, it's okay as a cover band. Let's try it as an original. So I put the band together in 2020. I actually found the original drummer that I used for the recording, to do the recording, which was done right before that. So I was able to get him on board at first. And then I went looking for the other couple players. I wanted a certain type of band that people don't see very much anymore. I wanted old Kiss, old Thin Lizzy, Y&T. I wanted a 2 guitar player band, bass player, drummer, where everybody just, nothing against, bashing AC/DC, but I wanted it to be not so much progressive Rush, but middle of the road, So I went searching out for that. I found a bass player that I had played with for 20 years. I recruited him from Ohio. And then I went searching for a guitar player, and through mutual friends, I found the guitar player that I wanted. So I finally put it together. The drummer's name was Ken Kadelka, who played with Lily and Axe. So I got him on board, and then I had gotten the bass player. His name is John Swanson. And then the guitar player, I had mutual friends from Las Vegas. His name is Sandy Stein. And so as it progressed through the last couple of years, unfortunately, the drummer didn't see the same way that I did when we first started. So we kind of parted company. Got another drummer by the name of Trace Lockwood. He came from another friend from Las Vegas. So I just tried to put together that kind of a band. It's funny that you say that it's early 90s. It's actually, in my mind, late 70s, early 80s. If you really take away, because it's been done through the 80s and early 90s, you're going to immediately go, oh my God, that's late 80s, early 90s. But technically, like the song you mentioned, Love and Pain, I structured that song the same way Jimmy Page structured Stairway to Heaven or Over the Hills and Far Away. It starts acoustic, and as each thing goes in, it layers more and more and more until it's just bombastic, like Stairway to Heaven with the guitar solo, and then the song ends. So yeah, I mean, you could say it's late 80s, early 90s, but in my mind, it came from late 70s, early 80s. So yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely sounds like that. And they certainly that type of influence is there. Not the influence of the music itself, but the
Right.
structure of it. So that was really good. I really enjoyed that. So
Cool.
when you're writing the songs, who are the main songwriters in the band?
Me.
Okay. So
I'm like,
you write everything?
yeah, I had,
Music and lyrics?
yeah, I had songs I started to stockpile, and I started to weed out different this and that. And I thought, well, if these songs if I can remember them, then hopefully other people did. So once I got to the 10 that I wanted, I came up with the concept and the idea of how I wanted to build those songs in regards to the name of the band, the title of the album, and the whole concept behind all the songs. So I pretty much did a Dave Grohl or a Phil Lynott or a Pete Townsend type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then explain to me the basically how do you write the songs? Is it lyrics then music? Is it music then lyrics, or melody? How do you come up with something?
It could be either or.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear a title. Like a good example is when I wrote Little Miss Lonely, I basically wanted a Aerosmith type of song. So it's a combination of Chiquita and Lightning Strikes musically.
Yeah.
And then I heard this great title that Sammy Hagar had on one of his albums, Little Miss Lonely. And I thought, wow, I
Hmm.
love that title. That's great. So then I just kind of put it together, and it just coincidentally, I ended up having a girlfriend at the time who things didn't work out properly. So I had to have some kind of a topic for the Little Miss Lonely. So she became the topic. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So then with that, when you were doing that, you're kind of writing everything. So now you're also writing the music, because all right, just so everybody knows, you are the lead singer and the guitar player in the band.
correct.
Um, you also have another guitar player who also does a lot of the lead work. But listening to the stuff that you're doing, then you're putting the structure of the song together. Are you doing any type of? You mentioned Pete Townsend. Townsend used to put together the whole song like as
Sure.
a demo.
Sure.
Is that what you do? Do you literally like a drum machine? You play it, you present it to the band in that way?
Yeah, well, the difference is that I didn't have to do a drum machine because technically I'm a drummer by nature.
Ah,
Um, Years
okay.
ago, in a band called Cold Sweat with Mark Ferrari, and I was the drummer for that. Before that, I was the drummer for a band called Excursion that had Mark Slaughter in it. So
Mm.
I played drums since I was a teenager. Mid 20s, I decided I'm going to shift gears and change. So when I started writing all these songs so many years later, I had already had the groove, the drum beats, everything already structured out and
Yeah.
in mind to sit and go, okay, here's, we're going to go this, we're going to do that, we're going to go blah, 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 blah. We're going to put a double harmony through here on this solo, add a bunch of vocals through here. So I kind of created the whole pie per se,
Yeah.
and then each person just kind of took it from that point, if that makes any sense.
Sure. Okay. Oh, so you give them input as far as what may need to be done. So you're putting in the actual structure of the song, you're putting it together, and then you're saying, all right, here you go, fellas. Here's the music. Here's what I'm coming up with. And
Correct.
now, so you guys have such a relationship that you're open to them coming back to you and saying, hey, listen, why don't we extend this 3 bars, or why don't we put the chorus here? That's how it works with you guys.
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show, you know, how you get along with the band, because that's a very, very important part of it. You know, you're not one of those that say, here's my song, here's what you're going to do, you're going to play it this way.
Correct.
You know, you're giving them the option of doing that, and you're giving them the autonomy to just say, hey, you know, I think we need to change something here. And that really is what it's all about with bands, is having that type of relationship to stay together and to do these songs, and not you know, also you're probably have to be careful about, or you don't have to be careful, I mean, about like overproducing, because you're not adding a bunch of things to it.
Correct.
It's a great basic, you know, like you say, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, 2 guitars, bass and drums,
Right.
and singer. So you know, so yeah, that's great. That's good to hear. It's good to
Yeah.
hear, because a lot of people don't do that.
Right. And that's what goes back to the old school, the old style. I mean, you could name a few of those older bands. And I mean, we were talking about Rush before we started recording this, but at the end of the day, I mean, Rush knew what they were going to put down. They just
Mhm.
needed the right proper engineer and the producer, which is great and fine. I mean, you go through all of those older bands, yeah, there's a producer on there, but how much did they really produce? I mean, did Kansas, need a producer, or they knew what they were doing? You know what I'm saying? Did
Yeah.
Stick really need a producer? you know, it's great to have a great engineer and call a producer and then have some ideas, that you can throw in, but you can kind of tell the difference between older bands that really kind of knew their sound and knew what they wanted to go for, and they just had to find the right guy to capture it.
Right.
That's what I was trying to bring back more than anything. I didn't want so much modern that it sounds like everybody else. I wanted it
Right.
to sound almost analog. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you definitely accomplished that. And plus, you also, I think your voice also matches very well with the style of music that you're playing. So when did you realize, you said you played drums first, then you switched over. Now you say you switched over to the guitar, or
correct.
when did the vocal part come in? When did you say, all right, I'm going to sing also. I need to be able to sing these songs.
Um, well, what happened was back in 1991, I believe, Cold Sweat had been done with their record, and the we were just kind of sitting there. And then at the time, I don't know if you remember a band, I'm going to assume you do, called Black and Blue.
Mhm.
Um, the two guys from Black and Blue, Jamie St. James and Tommy Thayer, we sat down and we decided, let's do something different. So we decided to do the first Kiss tribute band. So as we were sitting there thinking about it, this is where all this comes in, that you had Jamie, who was the singer, you had Tommy, who was the guitar player, you had Chris, who was in Cold Sweat, so he was the bass player, and I was the drummer. So then we went, wait a minute. Kiss doesn't look like that. Kiss doesn't sound like that. How are we going to change this? So as we were sitting there, everybody looked around and they looked over at Jamie, and he says, well, I used to play drums, before Black and Blue. And then
Mm.
they looked at me and said, can you play guitar and sing and be Paul Stanley? I
There
said,
it is. Yeah.
what? And so at the end of the night, I said, well, give me 2 weeks. I'll go home. I'll see if I could do it. If I could learn to play, I could learn to sing. If I could really make this happen, we'll give it a go. And 2 weeks later, we did a rehearsal. And from there, it just started to skyrocket. And Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons started getting involved with the band. And the next thing you know, we're going to Japan. And, this thing just
Wow.
just took off like
Hmm.
a groundswell. It was just insane. So I think from that point forward, I thought in the back of my mind, well, if I'm going to keep going, now's my chance and opportunity to just keep playing guitar and just keep singing and play guitar and getting a cover, do whatever I had to do to just keep playing guitar and singing to get that
Hmm.
experience in the years behind it. So that's kind of really when it started.
Wow. Okay, so you threw me on that one. You telling me that you were in a Kiss tribute band with Tommy Thayer,
I
and
was
you never played guitar or sang before
correct.
that came up.
Correct.
Wow.
I just, I would mess around here or there. I sang lead vocals in Excursion with Mark Slaughter. We were like Triumph at that time. But
Hmm.
then I kind of let it go and just, I didn't think much about it. And we were just, we were teenagers and stuff like that at that time. So yeah, once we got that group together, that's kind of where I started
Wow.
to get my, if you listen to the record, even all these years later, you'll hear different influences. And there's definitely Paul Stanley influences on those songs. Um, I love them. I think he
Yeah.
was the greatest front man, singer. People, I just related to him and I just absorbed it, from him. So yeah,
That's really awesome. I didn't know that about you. That's great.
yeah.
Um, so now let me ask you, was there ever any option for you to just, remember, we're talking about the times. Were there any time in that transition where when you started to want to do original music that you either just wanted to be a stand-up singer
Mm.
or you wanted to be a guitar player or you just knew that you wanted to do both all the time? Where did that, and what kind of argument were you getting in with yourself about, what am I going to do?
A bad argument actually, because
Wow.
all I wanted to do was play guitar. I wanted to be in a band like Thin Lizzy, in a band like Kiss, and the other. But I don't like singers. I don't like singers at all. I think some of the bands that, unfortunately, and it's just me, and I know a lot of people feel differently, but unfortunately, there's a lot of bands that aren't my favorites because they have a singer. I'm
Mhm.
just not a singer. I just am not one of those, people that go, oh my God, such and such, I mean, there's
Yeah.
great singers, don't get me wrong, Steve Perry and even David Lee Roth for what he does,
Sure.
I don't knock any of them. I just never wanted to be a singer. I never wanted to be in a band per se with a singer. And the ironic thing about all of it is I ended up getting in the band with Mark Ferrari called Cold Sweat. And I have to be honest to tell you that through my time with Cold Sweat, and even today, because we're still together, Roy Cathy is by far one of the most amazing singers I've ever come across in my entire life. And playing behind him and listening to him sing on the tours we did, and even today, Cold Sweat is playing the M3 Fest in Columbia, Maryland in May. Generation Landslide is doing the M3 pre-party, on the Friday before Cold Sweat plays.
Oh,
And I get nervous doing that in front of him because I know I'm not nowhere near the caliber of his singing and stuff. So I just kind of
wow.
hack through it, and then I wait to, play behind him and listen to him sing. So it's a
Wow.
thing I battle with myself all the time.
Hmm. Well, I would say you certainly, listening to the songs that you have out so far, phenomenal job on the vocals. I think they fit perfectly, and not only that, you also have harmonies in there that you do. Now, is that in the recording? Is that you doing harmonies, or
Yeah,
is that somebody else in the band who does harmonies?
nope, that's all me.
So do you reproduce that live?
Yes, and the reason I did it myself is because I wanted on top of the two guitar player band, I wanted the sweet sound. Remember the old band Sweet?
Yeah.
Everybody uses Queen as the example. I don't use Queen as the example because it's way, 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 way over the top. But when you listen to Sweet, they threw a lot of really cool vocals in with this
Yeah.
really cool riffy music. So I felt that I could go into the studio and I could play with it and add what I wanted and say, okay, well, I'm going to add these ones here and do this one like this and blah, 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 blah. And that's the kicker about being in the group. All 4 guys in this group have to sing. I can't have a guitar player who doesn't sing. I can't have a bass player who doesn't sing. I can't have a drummer who doesn't sing, because those songs require so much stuff on top of the riffy music. You can't reproduce it unless you literally have 4 guys singing like Queen, like Sweet, that 4 guys can actually sing it. So,
yeah. All right. So now tell me about a show. What could people expect if they go to a Generation Landslide show? What could they expect? How long is your set? And do you guys throw any covers in? And what is your basic show like? So explain that for us.
Most of the time we either play a 30-minute or a 45-minute set. So for a 30-minute set, what we pretty much do is we come out bombastic, old school, old style. We have an intro that just gets everybody whatever, and you just see nothing but hair and guys' energy and excitement and just intense for 6 songs,
Right.
That's old school. When we do a 45-minute set, all we do is we add the other 3 songs that are needed. It's still energetic, still high, high volume, high everything and stuff. We add a cover in there. And the cover we do is a song called Hollywood by Thin Lizzy. A majority of people would probably sit and go, I don't know if I know that one. When you hear it and you go, oh my God, I've heard that before. It's not Jailbreak. It's not Boys Are Back in Town. It's not Dancing in the Moonlight. When you hear this song, you sit and go, wow, it sounds like something I would have written. And it fits perfect for the band to do. So every time we've done it so far, people are like, wow, what was that one song? Man, that was really cool. And then when we say to Thin Lizzy, oh my God, I knew it. We're trying to do cover songs that actually represent the band instead of just going out there doing, You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC. You know what I'm saying? It's right. We don't want to just do a bunch of covers. We want to do 1 or 2 particular ones that sound, like something we would write.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you guys working on any new material now?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, already in the process, already have ideas, already have a lot of things swirling around. I didn't want to, go too much deep into that and stuff, because I still feel that these songs in this record still has a little bit of life left, but I would like to have a second one out probably by the end of the year, if it's possible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just don't say too much about it, just because I don't want people to, like, if people have heard the first record, I want them to wait a little bit for the second one and not be like, that's not, what else they got, so I'm trying to, balance it out a little bit to keep this record going for a little bit longer.
Oh, no. Well, that's absolutely fine. I mean, I think a lot of bands, they want to get that music out there as quickly as possible and then kind of let it ride. You got to do your shows. You have to get it out there. You guys are available. You're on Spotify. You're on YouTube.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm sure that you're on most platforms that are streaming, once you're on those. So I think, you got to just keep getting it out there. We got to get our fans to listen to it as much as possible, and then have them expect that next one. There's always that anticipation, and I think you'll get that. I definitely think you'll get that with this, with these songs that you have out. Another one coming out at the end of 2024. I think that would be great. It's definitely something that people would look forward to. Any difference that you've seen from the songs that you're doing now from the songs that you recorded in the past?
Better.
Better.
I could say is better. I feel that the songwriting on that first record, I feel really, really good about it. I think there's a lot of really, really great songs on there. There's some different kind of songs on there. This next one, I feel that it's literally one after another. This one's not even going to let up at all. I mean, you're going to have one hook after another. Each song is just going to be as memorable as possible, but without being in that commercial pop vein, if that makes any sense, you know?
Sure.
So that's kind of where I'm heading towards.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Who knows?
So let me ask you this. What do you think about I don't even know how to ask this as far as like what do you think of bands that have a lot of uh show props and stage performances of that nature? Like there's so many bands that I have seen in the past where well, we'll talk about Kiss. Okay. Kiss was actually the first band that I ever saw. It was in the 70s. First band I ever saw live. That was my actual first concert.
Nice.
And at the time, I was sitting in the audience and I heard Led Zeppelin come on they were playing Led Zeppelin over the speakers. And I was like, wow, this is something. I thought when I first heard of Kiss, it was more like you didn't really hear them, you saw them.
Correct.
And to me, that was like, well, it seems like it's kind of a joke, is it, are these guys are up there in makeup and this and that. And I got into Led Zeppelin and I got into Rush and I was like, I'm not sure about the theatrics, but then I saw the show and it was like, wow, that's, phenomenal. How
Right.
they put on an entire show like that with all of the things going on everywhere. It's a rare form of entertainment because most bands at the time would just,
Then,
go on stage and play,
and,
that was
and
it.
right.
Yeah. When I would see the bands, performing back in the day, that's how it would be, you know. So what are your thoughts on that? Does your band kind of go back and forth into like, hey, maybe we need to add something to our show, or like, does you let the music do the talking? What's your mindset there?
Unfortunately, it's a little tough to do that in this day and age. But to go back on your other thing, I think the theatrics played a great part with Kiss. I think
Mhm.
it complemented them. I think in the early days, and I'm a huge, huge Kiss fan, but once again, like we talked earlier before we were recording about Rush, I stop at a certain point with Kiss too.
Yeah.
So when you look at Kiss when they were all just silver and black and they were just up there just busting their butts, sure, they blew fire up and did some bombs and had a flashing light, and
Mhm.
that was cutting edge. Same with Alice Cooper. Wow, it highlights the show. I don't feel that you can really do too much of that anymore because really it's all been done.
Yeah.
So as far as I I I feel is that you just go up there and you just feel comfortable up there and
Yeah.
just be high energy and exciting and just try to move around and connect with the audience. Sure, you could put backdrops. You could even probably put a lit sign back there, if you wanted, I'm
Yeah.
sure, bands. But nowadays the way bands are playing, weekend shows and all of those kind of things. You want to just get up there, get your name in front of people, get right in their faces, and just have a good time with the material and let people go, yeah, yeah, this is great. I want to be excited, not
Right.
a bunch of people just standing there and everybody in the audience just going, really? Okay, songs might be
Yeah.
good, but they're kind of boring. So that's been the
Yeah.
age thing, for many, many years. And I think that's why so many people loved the 80s, the hair bands,
Yeah.
because they changed that. They didn't do all the pyrotechnics and all that stuff, but you had four guys up there just hair swinging everywhere, jumping off of, amps
Yeah.
and getting into the crowd's faces.
Right.
I love that. That is something that I actually love.
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan, even though bands' musics are good. I
Right.
don't like when bands are just standing there, you know.
Oh, for sure. For
So I
sure. And I would think a huge thing is when the audience sings along with the band. I mean, I don't care about all the pyrotechnics. I don't care about all that other stuff. I care about, does the band get into what they're doing, and does
right,
the band also involve the audience? I think
right.
that that's a huge part. And then, of course, when the audience reciprocates and becomes part of the show, that's always a huge thing for all bands, in my opinion. So
And
good.
that still rings true today. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter what year it is. If you have that kind of a band and your excitement level and you sell it, and you come blazing out there and you're, just doing your thing. And whether you're playing 6 songs or 9 songs, it doesn't really matter. And if the songs are good and the band just brings it,
Right.
you leave the rest into the audience's hands. Then they'll let you know. You'll
Yeah.
know, in this day and age, you'll know if, it's happening or not happening. So
Sure. All right. Well, so what's next for you, or what's next for the band? I did want to actually ask before you go into that, and I know this is might be a little a touchy subject, um, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Uh, do you plan on doing a solo album at all? Is
absolutely.
that you?
Nah,
No. Okay.
nah.
I wanted to ask, and we'll go into I want to hear your explanation of that, but I have heard of so many bands that some people just have to have a band behind them, whereas other people are like, well, I'm the songwriter, I'm the singer, I can pretty much do all of this. I could do all of this myself. So what are your thoughts on Anthony White's solo?
I'm one of those guys that want a band. My whole life, that's all I've ever wanted was a band. I'm not, I'm one individual of 4 guys that make up a band. So whatever it is that I do is what I do. If someone else in the band, I mean, when you listen to the record, you can kind of tell what solos are mine and what solos aren't mine. And I don't want to be that guy who has to have the spotlight, the limelight per se, and
Yeah.
all that. I just want to be in a band like in old days, like in a gang. You got
Sure.
4 guys, you get up there and everybody does their thing. Here, take a bass solo. Here, take a guitar solo. Here, do a drum solo. Whatever it takes. It's not really about my name or me at all. Just because I've hear the songs in my head, that I wanted to write down. This is the type of band and songs that I hear in my head.
Sure.
Everybody else has just as much say, and you can put me in the back in the corner if you'd like, just the same. you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Well, and it sounds like you found the right group of people to be with as far as the band members, and it sounds like you just have that friendship and relationship that
I
really makes bands go far. So kudos to you on that, and congratulations
yeah,
on
I
the music.
important, definitely important.
Yeah, for sure. All
Then
right. Well, tell us what's next for Generation Landslide then.
so the next thing that comes up is we have a show this coming Saturday in Las Vegas at a hotel called Oyo. Don't ask me what it means. It's up on the Las Vegas Strip. We're playing with 2 other bands, and one of them is My Chemical Tribe, I think, and then another band. And for some reason, I should have figured out what their name is by now. I can't think of their name, but I've heard that they're both really good bands. So we're doing that this Saturday. And then after that, we're going to put out another song and another video from the
Oh,
record. And then we're going to just try to play shows. We've got a booking agent on board that's just going to start, getting the band out there all the way up, until the first week of May. Then we
mhm.
go to Columbia, Maryland to do the pre-party for the M3 Fest. So, and then just keep playing through the summer. That's pretty much it.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you're busy.
I'm
Yeah.
going to try to be as much as I can.
Right. Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Congratulations to everything that's going on. And really, we need everybody to get on there, listen to Generation Landslide in the Las Vegas area, and just kind of look on Facebook, look on Spotify, look at all your streaming sites, look up Generation Landslide. Definitely a band you don't want to miss. And if you see them come through your area live, definitely hook up with them, because the music is great. The music brings you back, and you can definitely get into it and sing along with the song. So, Anthony, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate the time, and good luck to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All
Thank you.
right, you got it. Yeah. So this is Living in the Limelight. I'm your host, Anton Scholl, and we will see you again next week. Thank you. Thank you for joining our Living in the Limelight podcast with your host, Anton Scholl. Please feel free to comment, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And also add us to your playlist on your favorite streaming sites. Thanks again for joining, and we'll talk to you again next week.